Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Terence Crawford and Adamus. Sounds like that's going to be the fight to take place. And you know what? It makes all the sense in the world. Very tough fight for Terence Crawford. But I am looking forward to it. And I hope that that's the next fight for Terence Crawford. Now, everything is geared towards how Crawford can continue his legendary run. But we got to understand Adamus and how he can derail that journey to 160 undisputed glory. Now, let me see if I can find something here. You guys need to know who this guy is, right? Let me do something. See, some people don't know who the hell Carlos Adamus is. This is Carlos Adamus right here. 24 wins, 18 KOs, 1 loss, 1 draw, which was bullcrap because he deserved the win over Hamza Shiraz. Anyway, 75% KO ratio. Started boxing in 2015. He's 5'11", 73-inch reach. Crawford's 5'8", but Crawford has a 74.5-inch reach. So this is a very difficult fight for Terence Crawford, and he's 31 years old fighting out the Dominican Republic. So for anyone out there who thinks this is an easy fight, well, you obviously don't know boxing. And you can see he had some fights. Hamza Shiraz, a guy who knocked out Edgar Berlanga, he got a split draw with him when he really deserved the win. Won a unanimous decision over Terrell Gausha, Julian Williams, TKO'd him, Montiel, TKO'd him, Derevinchenko, majority decision. And you can see there's a few other names here. I'm familiar with the names. You guys may not be familiar with all of these names. But the bottom line is, when you talk about this guy right here, you better put some respect on his name, because he does not respect anyone he gets in that ring with. He comes in there looking to destroy you. Now, for Terence Crawford, this man is really chasing greatness. And I like that because he's not chasing greed and he's running towards the danger. Now, there's some strengths, okay? When you look at Terence Crawford, you got to talk about the strengths. Because for anyone doubting that Terence Crawford can pull this off, I understand looking at the weaknesses, but we got to look at the strengths too. Elite adaptability. Crawford can do just about anything in the ring, better than anyone else. And to be honest with you, the last person who I think, when you really want to look at going up the weight division and adapting in the ring and figuring things out, may not be the exact way, but adaptability is adaptability and finding a way to win. Crawford's doing it probably better than anyone since Marvelous Marvin Hagler. And that's a huge compliment. You watch him, man, just going from one stance to the next stance, fighting in close, fighting at mid-range, fighting on the outside, clinching, pivoting, feinting, just anything you could think of, man. Counter-punching, anything you could think of, Crawford does it. You think about his fight IQ, his brilliance, his timing, ability to download opponents and just recognize their patterns is unmatched. It's unmatched. And a guy like Adamus, who is very, very aggressive, Crawford's going to look to turn all of that against him. And then you got to understand, when you're getting in the ring with a guy like Adamus, you got to be locked in mentally. And Crawford has the mental discipline. And I'll be honest with you, after watching Crawford now, because I'll be honest with you, I haven't followed Crawford like some of y'all been following him since his very first fight. I've watched him, but I wasn't like breaking my neck to get in front of TV. I remember watching Crawford on ESPN when he first turned pro. And Bob Arum telling the camera, who's going to beat him? No one's going to beat this guy. And people talking about him, and you're seeing this little slim, dark-skinned guy and with these braids, and he just kept knocking people out. But it's like with Abdullah Mason. I haven't followed him since his first fight, but it's kind of like that. Like Abdullah Mason, I'll see him fight and I'll watch him, like up to like maybe 2 years ago, or about 2 years ago, and I'm like, oh, this Abdullah Mason cat, there he goes again. That's that tall, skinny kid whipping everybody's ass. But then he gets on your radar, and you're like, yo, there's something special. And Crawford really got on my radar where I really started following him was the Gamboa fight. But I had seen him fight Ricky Burns and I had seen him fight that fight where Bob Arum was like, "Yo, who's gonna beat this kid?" And I saw him fight some shit outdoors in the ring, and he damn near killed the cat in the ring. And I was like, "Yo, this cat is strong." But anyway, after Gamboa, I really started paying attention to him. But he just seems to be a guy who thrives under pressure. You know what I'm saying? Almost preferring chaos, because there aren't many fighters that like to be in chaos. They don't like things uncomfortable. They don't like it. But it's like Crawford, he has the kind of instincts where he can be in a mashup, crash up in the ring. Like, you could tell Crawford has been in the jungle, man. He's got those kind of instincts to no matter whether the fight's going easy for him or it's going hard for him, he just has those instincts to where he can flip a switch. So if he's in the ring with a lion, he turns into the lion. Matter of fact, a man-eating lion. You know what I'm saying? A lion-eating lion. Like he turns into the Mufasa. He ain't there to play around. Because you know what? You got to understand at this point in his career, with all that championship experience, you can't. How could you not expect a guy like Crawford to have the confidence that he has and to have the mental discipline that he has? Undisputed 3 times. About trying to go for 4. So psychologically, there's a psychological edge that it takes to go on and set a goal like that and to accomplish your milestones. But just like we could talk about the good with Crawford, we got to talk about, some of those weaknesses. You know what I'm saying? Man, 38. He get in the ring next year, early next year, if that's what happens, which I think is going to. I don't think Crawford's going to be out the ring for a year. He gets in there early next year. Hopefully it's against Adamus. Then maybe he fights later that year in an undisputed bout. He'd be 39 years old when he actually gets in the ring for the undisputed bout. Let me tell you something. Physical peak might start to decline a bit. Crawford's already talking about the importance of recovery now and how his body feels. Yo, remember, the guy is damn near 40. You got to wonder when Father Time's going to show up and snatch those reflexes. Even if he's taking an ice bath and trying to recover and taking a day off, when Father Time is going to snatch that recovery from his ass? When Father Time is going to sit here and say, I see you got some explosiveness, but I'm going to snatch some of that because you have great genetics. So you're still going to be a badass, but you're going to be a 40-year-old badass. You're not going to be the 38, 39-year-old who's operating like you're 30. Nah, I'm going to get your ass up to speed. You're going to feel like a 40-year-old in here, and this explosiveness is going to be great, but it ain't going to be what you had. And I just think when you look at that for Terence Crawford, he'll need to manage that big time. Big time, man. And if he's not managing that wisely, smartly, he's going to be in trouble because the age and wear at his age is real. Then you got to look at the size transition. You know what I'm saying? I get it. Crawford is probably naturally a super middleweight. But to go from, let's just talk about 147. 147, 154, jump up to 168, and then come crashing back down to 160. I just have to wonder how is he going to perform coming down from 168 to face guys at 160 who are comfortable at 160, who aren't losing or gaining weight to fight at 160. And what I mean is, like, Crawford is losing weight to come down. Guys who are there and they're comfortable, even if they can fight at 175, they're used to the weight cut and they're used to the division, so they're settled in. Crawford, he's not settled into 160. So in a sense, you wonder if he's going to be in a ring with guys who may be physically stronger than him. You know what I'm saying? Is Crawford going to be an engineered physicality? From training, supplementation, snack, strength and conditioning coach, etc., nutritionist, where these other guys that just naturally got it. So I'd have to wonder about the size transition down, and just to understand if somehow that will neutralize his speed and take some of his power. But I still think he'll have decent speed and good power, but the risk is there. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta take the emotion out of it and just be real. He's stripping muscle off. He's not stripping off marshmallows and mashed potatoes. He's stripping muscle off. And that's never good. And then again, we're talking about Crawford. I don't think it's good for him to fall back into this loop of inactivity. He can't allow that, man. Because how much longer can Crawford go staying out the ring for 9 months to a year and continue to perform at an optimal level? I'm going to tell you right now, man, if Adamus sets a torrid pace early, Crawford's in trouble. He's in trouble, man. Ring rust could set in, could show up. And for those of you saying, nah, he beat Canelo, he'll beat Adamus. Adamus is a more difficult fight for Crawford than Canelo. But at the end of the day, there's some opportunities, man, you know, so that could be the motivation to where even if Crawford's 45 years old, he gets in that ring and he could be firing on all cylinders, putting the Omaha, Nebraska bing bings on the opponents. You got to understand the opportunity of legacy sealing. He is trying to seal the deal, becoming 4 division undisputed. Will be a one in the history type accomplishment, man. And he's already in the history books. He's already cemented his legacy. He's already underscored his greatness. He's going into the Hall of Fame. No boxer has done that. No boxer has done that. Crawford now has global respect when it comes to the boxing community and also outside of boxing. I think when it comes to combat sports as a whole and just sports as a whole, there's a lot of respect put on Crawford's name. But one thing for sure, as far as the global respect and global influence, Turki Alalshikh is just going to continue pushing Terence Crawford into global megastardom. Like, that is what you're going to see happening, especially if Crawford keeps winning. You watch Turki Alalshikh have Crawford as the face of global boxing, not just American boxing. Especially if Crawford comes down and wins the first fight at 160, you already know. All of the accolades that have escaped or have missed Terence Crawford, he is going to get that and so much more right now. You know what I'm saying? And this is what's amazing, is to see him possibly end his career going to 160, doing the business, becoming undisputed, beating guys like Adamus, then the winner of Janibek Lara. And I just think that would solidify him as the most complete fighter since Sugar Ray Leonard. But there's always a threat when you're fighting somebody like Adamus. He got power, man. That dude can crack. I'm just telling you, that dude can crack. He can crack his uppercuts. Looping hooks in close range could test Crawford's chin if Crawford somehow isn't ready to anticipate those shots. Adamus is a rough inside fighter. He'll make Crawford uncomfortable. Adamus thrives in the phone booth. If the referee allows wrestling, if the referee allows a little foul play, that shit's going to affect Terence Crawford. It's going to disrupt his rhythm. I'm just telling you. And I just think Adamus has an underrated hunger. He was robbed against Hamza Shiraz. So this is an opportunity for him to come back and really get the victory that he should have had when he fought Shiraz and get it against Crawford. So Adamus is going to get paid good money, but that's not what he's coming for. He's really coming for validation. And what fighter, there's no other fighter better than Crawford to get in the ring and face and to defeat. And when you have a hunger like what Adamus has and a chip on his shoulder, that shit makes him very, very dangerous. And people got to understand when it comes to Carlos Adamus, like Crawford has strengths, weaknesses, there's some opportunities and threats. Adamus has the same thing, physical strength. I keep talking about it. I'm going to keep talking about the physical strength, natural middleweight, compact build, high volume, explosive, short punches, will foul you, will make you uncomfortable, will try to disrupt your rhythm. He has improved his composure, he has improved his fighting style, and he just looks to be getting better and better and better. He did have a loss against a guy named Patrick Tejera, but he's learned to pick his shots more wisely. Still aggressive, but you can see that there's a bit more calculated, a bit more intelligence. but he still got that high pressure style. Can smother counter punches and force uncomfortable exchanges, and can land his own power shots, especially in close or at distance, because he has such long arms. And remember, he's 5'11" with a 73-inch reach. But again, just like we talk about his aggressiveness and his offense, that also leads to some of his weaknesses. When you're letting your hands go, man, that creates some defense openings. And Crawford's going to see that, exploit it, and he's going to let his hands go. Because when you're doing that, and Adamus especially, he has a problem with leaving his chin open. He'll go to the body. He'll throw combinations to the body. He'll take risks, but he leaves his chin wide open. And I think Crawford will figure that out and look to put the bing-bings on him. So as a result, there's a bit of predictability there, you know what I'm saying? He wants to hit you so hard and hurt you so bad, he will load up on his shots, especially that hook. And again, Crawford already knows that. He has sparred him. But they're going to watch the video. The coach is going to be like, yo, this guy does this, this, and that. And Crawford's going to be ready. And the one thing that's always a deal breaker in a fight is conditioning and stamina. The cardio is going to dip after 6 rounds, man, for Adamus. He's going to push hard in the first 6, but after that, he tends to slow. And we know Crawford tends to pick it up. So, again, that's dangerous against a guy like Crawford, who's a late round closer. But in the first 6 rounds, it's going to be a pretty even playing field because Adamus is coming to fight. He's looking for that career-defining upset. He knows overnight he'll become a superstar fighting Crawford and beating him. He's all about, snatching legacies. He can ruin Terence Crawford's 4-division undisputed dream. And Crawford is the biggest name in boxing, and Adamus can have that name for himself. And again, if he beats Crawford, hey, you're fighting underneath Turki Alalshikh Saudi promotion. That can help elevate his global exposure beyond his traditional Latin American fan base. So, good opportunities for Adamus. Do have some threats. Maybe some mental traps. Again, he starts to get aggressive too early, walks into a counter, find himself getting frustrated. I wonder how he'll keep his composure if, in fact, he's has some success but can't capitalize, or not having success and Crawford's frustrating him. You could see him start to unravel and have a mental breakdown. And then the referee and the pace control. The referee may allow a slower paced fight that's going to benefit Crawford, and that's going to piss off Adamus. So we just have to sit back and see, because as far as what I expect, I think there's motivation and outcome dynamics. We talk about like an expectancy theory. You see, Terence Crawford, he believes that he can win. You know what I'm saying? He expects to win. That belief is extremely high. Extremely high. His entire career has been built on defying doubt. So for those who are doubting that he can do the business at 160, ain't nothing new at all to him. Instrumentality. Belief that success leads to reward. Let me tell you something. Sky high. Crawford knows a win equals immortality, not just belts. And he wants that. Hold on one second. My son's making a bunch of noise. Hold on. All right, sorry, I had to, chirp them up a little bit. They're making a bunch of goddamn noise, man. What the hell wrong with them? There's 3 of my sons. I'm up there making all that goddamn noise. But anyway, for Terence Crawford, man, he knows if he wins, boy, that could equal some serious immortality, you know what I mean? And that's why I know Crawford's fighting for greatness. The belts and the payday is just the cherry on top. And then the value of the outcome, you know what I'm saying? It's going to be off the charts. The value earned off of him winning the fight, boy, against Adamus and becoming undisputed, off the charts. Four division, Undisputed would close the GOAT debate. And I get it. Mayweather could have become undisputed probably in probably every weight division he was in. He was that good, but he didn't do it. So, did Mayweather cement legacy? Yes. Did he chase greatness? Yes. Up to a certain point. And then he became Money Mayweather and still fought credible opponents. He wasn't fighting bums now. Man was fighting champions and top 3 guys. He was fighting ex-champion. Mayweather fought the best. But he chose not to necessarily run to the danger. Crawford is running to the danger. So I can see why a person would say if Crawford does this shit a 4th time, it doesn't matter what any other fighter has done, irregardless of the era. You got to say Crawford is the GOAT. And I wouldn't really have nothing to say. You know what I'm saying? I just let it roll. But the bottom line, the results, Crawford's motivation, his motivation level is nearly absolute, man. His why is stronger than most fighters' how. And I just think you got to really understand how that man grew up, what he experienced. He's been getting doubted his whole life as a professional fighter. They tried to bury him over there at Top Rank, ESPN, all these other promotional factions. They didn't. No one's ever done this man a favor. So he got a reason why he's doing what he's doing. Most of us, you think you know, but you don't really know because you can't see what he feels inside. He can try to articulate it with his words, but we'll never know. We'll never know because we can't feel what he feels inside. Now with Carlos Adames, what does he expect? Yeah, I think he got a moderate to high expectation of himself to do well. He believes in his power and size and thinks he can break Terence Crawford. As far as instrumentality, I think that's high. A win equals stardom. More fights in Saudi, possibly Canelo or Charlo next, but he knows it could be a big fight, probably for Undisputed if he beats Crawford. And then Valence, the value of the outcome, that's also very high. Very, very high. Now you're talking about Adames, being cementing his legacy and getting the recognition that he deserves, especially for Dominican boxing. Those are huge motivators for a guy like Carlos Adames getting in the ring with Terence Crawford. But the result, Adames will come in fully motivated, but could overexert early because of the emotional investment. He's an emotional guy. And it is what it is, you know what I'm saying? It's just a mindset, and if we're trying to do a comparison between mindsets, you got the X and Y, you know what I'm saying? Theory X, fighters driven by fear, control, and external rewards. Theory Y, fighters driven by self-mastery, purpose, and belief in growth. Crawford, Theory Y, he fights not for the money, not for the Wu-Tang cream, cha-ching, ching. But Crawford fights for proof. He finds joy in puzzle solving and elevation. He thrives on being doubted, which is true. Adames is Theory X. He's driven by validation, respect, financial stability. He fights to prove himself to the world, external motivation. So if we're talking about a clash dynamic, I would say Crawford's inner calm is more of a Theory Y, you know what I'm saying? Self-mastery, purpose, belief in growth, and allow him to stay patient on the fire. Adames' external motivation is more of a Theory X, where fighters are driven by fear, control, and external rewards. And when you're driven by a Theory X like Adames, it can cause emotional lapses if he doesn't dominate early. He'll get frustrated and pissed off. So this mental contrast, it mirrors fights like Hopkins versus Trinidad. One fighter seeking validation and the other defending legacy with cerebral controls. And that's a pretty damn good comparison. If you remember Trinidad and Hopkins, one guy was really chasing validation. Other guy was defending legacy with cerebral control, and that was Hopkins. So it is what it is. What's that? How long have I been on here? 24 minutes? Damn, long video, boy. So I think I'll close it out with, because I like to talk about the OODA Loop. Some people don't know what that is. That's where the OODA Loop is an analysis. I like to do analysis when I break down these fights. But you think about Crawford's OODA Loop. OODA is observe, orient, decide, and act. For Crawford, you got to observe. First 2 rounds, minimal offense, constant data gathering. Got to study atomists, check out that rhythm, the punch tells, and the reactions. So that's observed. Then you got to orient himself. By rounds 3 to 4, Crawford needs to be adjusting, stance, spacing, forcing atomists into predictable traps. And then the D is to decide. He got to decide whether to counter. Usually when Adams leans in after missing his left hook, you got to make a decision. Hold on, there's somebody at my door. Okay. That was the UPS man. I'm like, damn, all this activity in my house right now. But for Crawford, is just making a decision, man. You got to decide when to counter. Usually when Adamus leans in after missing his left hook, Crawford's got to take risks. And then just acting, you know what I'm saying? Precision, kill shot, counters, letting his hands go. Think right hook, check uppercut, or looping left as Adamus exits. So Crawford, he's got to be emotionless. He's got to be fluid. He's got to be smart. Now, when it comes to Adamus, I'm talking about his OODA Loop, right? Observe, orient, decide, act. Observe, you got to come out hot, testing Crawford's resistance. Orient, gets frustrated if counters land early. You got to decide, might double down on aggression instead of adapting. You got to act. The problem with him is he'll overcommit. Overcommit, which is when Crawford finishes the job. So when you actually take a look at that OODA Loop or when it comes to Adamus, he'll come out hot, he'll test Crawford. He could get frustrated if Crawford's landing counters on him early. And he might double down on aggression instead of adapting. He just try to be a bull in a china shop. And then he ends up overcommitting, exposing himself, and Crawford is going to finish the job. So with Adamus, his loop is emotional and reactive. Crawford's is surgical and calculated. And that's the difference in the fight, man. The fighter with the faster, calmer OODA Loop usually wins. So I'd say the advantage, is Terence Crawford. So the bottom line is you got legacy in Crawford and spoiler in Adamus. You know what I'm saying? The fight's not just about belts. It's about the arc of greatness and the hunger of relevance. If Crawford wins, you already know, becomes the first guy to become undisputed in 4 weight divisions. Cements himself as one of the top 5 in history, period. Some may say the best fighter ever to put on a pair of gloves. But it will always be debatable and be up for a good argument. Now, if Adamus wins, he becomes a man who ended the legacy run of a living legend. And he gets launched into superstardom overnight. So Turki Alalshikh, his role is pivotal, man. And, when Turki's in the house, every day is Thanksgiving. His matchmaking ambition can make this fight the first step in one of the greatest late chapter career comebacks in boxing history. And when I say career comeback for Crawford, it's because his career was damn near over when he decided to leave Top Rank. Everybody tried to bury him. It's wrong what they did to Terence Crawford. Tried to bury him. Horrible. But you look at him now. So, my final verdict on all this crap, Crawford's path to victory, to me, is pretty straightforward. Jab, that's a data radar. You know what I'm saying? I ain't worried about Crawford trying to switch stances too much because Adamus can switch stances too, but frustrate Adamus. You got to frustrate him. Bait Adamus into lunging. Adamus will lunge. Adamus wants to hurt you. So he will lunge and make mistakes. But I think Crawford can slow the fight tempo around 3 or 4. Now you got Adamus in a chess match. And he can box, he's got IQ, but he's in a chess match with a guy like Crawford, call him the Grandmaster. That's not going to go so well for him. So I think Crawford will probably gradually increase his countering accuracy, counter punching, and his punch output, and he could go on to win a decision. But, it's not a foregone conclusion that, a knockout isn't possible. But when it comes to Adams, his path to victory, he just got to pressure and not let Crawford breathe and not let Crawford think. protect the body, even if he takes a few shots. Should be the bigger, stronger guy. Make it ugly, make it rough. Make it like Maidana made it for Floyd Mayweather. You got to make him uncomfortable. You can't sit there now and allow Crawford to slow the fight down, get into his rhythm, and outbox you, box your ears off. You got to make it into a dogfight. I don't think Crawford likes being in a dogfight. But the bottom line, if this happens under Turkey, mute this. Turkey's Saudi boxing empire could go down as a moment that either extended the Crawford dynasty or it ended with a Dominican thunderclap. And that's what we got to wait and see. We're going to have Crawford extending his legacy or the Dominican thunderclap, with the Dominican being catapulted to superstardom. Anyway, y'all keep cool. More videos to come. Very, very interesting potential matchup here with Crawford and Adamus. Y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.